realistically, looking at it, what team do you want to play in the first round of the playoffs?
Great.
And this is looking pretty much at anyone in the Central and probably anyone in the Pacific too, I guess.
Yeah, honestly.
Any of them could end up being like a wild card if the Wild get the 1 seed, or being the 1 seed if the Wild are a wild card. So like anyone's in play, I would say. But who are you maybe pick one on both sides. Who do you want in the Central? Who do you want in the Pacific?
So Pacific, honestly, Seattle. That would be my pick. And in the Central, God, I think I'm going to stick with Winnipeg. Now, Winnipeg, I mean, they're notorious for either being stellar in the playoffs and still playing a heavy game, or they kind of choke. I am scared that Hellebuck could go on a run and help them out as well. But I think if we look at the rest of the teams in the Central, like, I'm scared of fucking Dallas. I don't want any business with Colorado. So, I mean, I don't know. Those, yeah, I'd have to go with Winnipeg. Seattle, now, are they a good team? Yeah, they've proven to be a good team, especially in the Pacific. But no, they've proven to be a solid team. But I'm scared that if Calgary sneaks in, that they're just gonna they're gonna right the wrongs this season and just go on a run. And Markstrom could get hot as well. So for some reason, I'm more scared of the Flames if they squeak in than Seattle.
Yeah, and you're totally right. In the Pacific, I think no discredit to what Seattle's done this year. They are
incredible,
a good team, but that is the team you pick. No one wants to play Edmonton. If you disagree with me, you're wrong.
Crazy.
The interesting comparison for me that I wonder about is really more along the lines of how important is like home ice in that environment, because Seattle could low key be one of the scariest environments. Their first playoff appearance, their fans are rabid. Like, that city might come to life. I could see that hurting. Whereas playing, say, an LA Kings, like, first off, selfishly, that's such a fun matchup with Kevin Fiala there, with hatred that everyone has for Drew Doughty living rent free, and it being a very interesting matchup on paper in general. Like, selfishly, I kind of want to see that. That would be so fun. But they also, like, it's not the same home crowd. It's not the same atmosphere. It's just not. So that one's interesting to me. If we go to the Central, though, I'm actually going to disagree. And I got a weirder take on this one. I think Colorado every time. You look at this team, they've still got guys coming back from injury. And yes, they should be mostly healthy. I think no one is talking enough about losing Lehkonen for the year. I think that one cuts deep.
I love him.
I don't think that the Colorado Avalanche have adequately replaced Nazem Kadri. And they weren't ever going to replace him.
Of course.
They really haven't filled that gap in any meaningful way. That's scary. And the biggest thing for me, easily the most untested goaltending when it comes to playoff games, right? Like,
no, that's true.
Georgiev does not have playoff experience. Like, he's maybe played a couple of games in spot fills. That could be their weakness. Yes, are they still a really good team that could absolutely go on a run and maybe even make it to another cup final? If things go right, yes. But you want to catch them early before they get that momentum. You want to play this team because their goaltending is beatable. Hellebuck might win the series on his own. Minnesota's used to that. Like, how many times have the Wild lost a playoff series that they dominated because they went up against a sick goalie? all the Jake Allen PTSD, right? And you got the same kind of vibe potentially there out in Dallas. So you got the goaltending. I think Minnesota's uniquely equipped to deal with the speed and the pace of the Colorado Avalanche. I think Jonas Brodin is the perfect person to match out there with Nate McKinnon regularly.
Yep.
I think that the team is equipped to deal with how activated their blue line gets, right? So I think the matchup on paper makes sense, and I feel like the Wild would rise to the occasion too. I don't think there's a series that they would be more jacked up about than either the Kings or the Colorado Avalanche. Like, I think most Wild fans would say Dallas. I don't think anyone in the Minnesota Wild locker room gives a fuck about Norm Green and him taking the team away. That's like such ancient history for them. I really, truly think Colorado, they show up and they are buzzing with a chance to take down
the big dogs,
Stanley Cup champs, who happen to be one of their biggest rivals in the division. I
like it.
Sign up for that every time. And again, I don't think people realize how much of a loss Lehkonen is going to be for that team. I think that really hurts.
You said it. And I've always loved Artturi Lehkonen. Even when he was with the Canadians, I was always like, this guy's an underrated, and he was only really played on the third line for them, an underrated liner goal scorer who didn't have anybody else around him who could really feed him the puck at all. Admittedly, I had no idea how well he was playing this year. I had no idea he had 49 points and 20 goals in 62 games. Like this, I fucking props him. I tip my cap to him. I've always loved this player. I know he had not like necessarily a coming out party in the playoffs, but he did help the Colorado Avalanche out quite a bit in the playoffs with depth scoring. I think he had like 15 or something points. I just closed the tab, but it was something like that. And it's great. It's crazy that his production was that big this year. Like when you said his name, I was like, oh, of course, like that guy's an awesome depth scorer. I didn't realize like he was really, really helping this team score and lead the offense. So no, you 100%. I like that choice based on your argument. And I think that, talking about Lehkonen, that is a huge freaking loss.